So, Michael, just to sum it up, and everyone in Turkey is like really curious about how long you're going to hold your Bitcoin for. Like, because everyone's got this idea in Turkey, like if MicroStrategy, like if Michael Saylor decides to sell his Bitcoin, it will make a little momentary collapse in the market. And are you planning to buy more or gradually sell and take some profits? And I know the answer, but it will be best to hear it from you.
Yeah, well, I mean, our strategy is to acquire and hold Bitcoin. If you go and you pull out our SEC statements, our annual report, our 10Qs, it's a filing. We make that filing to the public to tell all the investors what the company intends to do.
Yeah.
And our strategy is not to trade it. Our strategy is to buy it and to hold it. We've been very clear in that. I've been very clear. Again, I think it's the apex property of the human race, which means that it's going to go up forever. It'll have volatility, but over time it should appreciate. So it would be foolish to sell high quality property. I think that the best way to understand this is think about Warren Buffett. Warren Buffett is famous for this phrase, our ideal holding period is forever. That's what he said. I mean, I'm not the guy that invented the forever, right? Warren Buffett, when I was a child, told everybody the ideal holding period is forever. And he's famous for like one investment, Coca-Cola. And what is Coca-Cola? I mean, everybody knows what Coca-Cola is. It's the greatest beverage brand in the world.
It is.
And he likes it because it has brand value. Now, most people don't really understand what brand value is. They don't think that hard about it. But let me explain it. If I fired everyone at Coca-Cola and I blew up every Coca-Cola factory and plant and I destroyed every bottle of Coca-Cola in the world.
Yeah.
And I had to start the company from scratch, it would still be worth 50 or $100 billion. It would still have a massive brand value. And the reason why is because there's 8 billion people on the planet. So how many people in Turkey know what Coca-Cola is? If I ask them. Everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to destroy a brand, it's not enough to destroy the company and the product. Yeah. I have to erase the memory of the people. I have to kill 8 billion people, or I have to reach into their head. If I'm like one of those X-Men, like Professor Xavier, I'd have to go into the head of everybody in the world and rip Coca-Cola and the memory of it out of their heads.
Yeah, actually, Michael, I can give you an example on this. I was at a university doing a conference about developing brands and how the marketing works in different countries and that. And one question I asked the students, I was like, okay, because I think Coca-Cola, the marketing of Coca-Cola is genius, since it started. And I asked them a question. I said, okay, what comes to your mind when I say Coca-Cola? And everyone came up with an answer. They said the writing, the bottle, red, there's so many things. Nobody said drink. So for me, that is an amazing marketing coming back from the very early years, that it's just in your mind, in there. Like you said, even if you destroy everything, Coca-Cola will always be there as a brand. So I 100% agree with you.
Let me illustrate how it has a commercial value. Go into any restaurant in the world, sit down. They ask you, what do you want to drink? And if you want to drink a non-alcoholic, non-water beverage, okay, I'll have a Mr. Pibb. No. I'll have a Dr. Pepper. No. I'll have some random cola. What do you have? We have Coke. Yeah. I'll have a Coke Zero. We don't have that. We have Diet Coke. You have Diet Coke? Yeah. You have Coke, you have Diet Coke. And 10 years later, 5% of the companies have a Coke Zero. But if you go all these places, you get so demoralized. You're like, I don't even bother to ask for anything other than a Diet Coke if I want a non-alcoholic, non-sugar beverage, because I know that there's a 95% chance they're going to deny me. I've been conditioned and trained. How many years will it take for those restaurants? And those restaurants think, well, we're not going to, if they stopped offering Diet Coke, then they would have millions and millions of people get mad at them. Like, why don't you buy Diet Coke? Why don't you have my Coke? Blah, blah, blah. And so the power of the brand is such that it carves itself in the neural pathways of the civilization. 8 billion consumers, 100 million businesses, every politician, everybody, right? It's that powerful. Now come back to Warren Buffett. He bought Coca-Cola probably before you were born, right? Maybe before, like way back, a long time ago.
Was it more than 45 years ago? I don't know.
Probably.
Okay.
I mean, he probably had it in the 70s.
Yeah, I was born in the 70s, so yeah. That
you can check. A long time ago.
Okay.
Okay. And when people say, are you going to sell it? He's like, well, no, it's a great brand. It's always going to be a great brand. It'll outlive me, right? It's a great property. So if I sold it, I would have to buy something. Here's the reason you don't want to sell a great property. You would pay tax on it. So you would lose 1/3 of the value of your, if you had $100 billion of Coca-Cola and you sold it, you would pay a $35 billion tax bill. Now you have $65 billion in cash, and the cash is losing 15% of its value every year. So hold that and maybe more, right? If you put that cash in a bank in Lebanon, you would have gone from 100 billion to 65 billion to 6 billion that would be frozen in 12 months.
Yeah.
That's why, what's safer? Cash in a bank in Lebanon or the Coca-Cola brand in the heads of 8 billion people, right?
Obviously.
So it's pretty obvious. You're not going to sell. If my family owned the middle city blocks on Central Park in Manhattan 200 years ago, tell me in what year it would have been a good year to sell all of Central Park.
Never.
Never. Okay, so the only question is, right, is it a good thing to own? If it isn't, Warren Buffett's famous for this other phrase. If you wouldn't hold it for 10 years, you shouldn't hold it for 10 minutes. If you don't think it's worth holding for a decade, you shouldn't hold it at all. So coming back to the question of MicroStrategy, we think that Bitcoin is the apex property of the human race. It's Cyber Manhattan. One day, 8 billion people may want to live there. There's only 21 million city blocks in Cyber Manhattan. They're not making any more. Nobody can make any more.
And everyone wants to live there.
You need Istanbul and Paris and London and New York because you have different cultures and people are living in the real world, in physical space.
Yeah.
But you don't need 100 great cities in cyberspace.
No.
You may very well, like, for example, there was a leading media company in every country, right? And a newspaper, the Turkish newspaper, the British newspaper, the Japanese newspaper. But now you've got Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah, true.
Right? And Facebook and Twitter and Google have, there's no Google of Turkey, and there's no Google of Lebanon, and there's no Google of Syria. There's just Google.
Yeah.
And so the answer is, no, we don't want to sell it. No, we don't want to trade it. If it's going up 130% a year, you're getting a tax-free return of 130% a year. If you're going to sell anything, and this is the problem with the trading ethos, if you're going to sell anything, you have to pay the transaction fee, then you have to pay the tax, then you have to buy something better than the thing you sold. And if you can do that, then maybe you can be a trader. And I'm not saying in pork bellies and corn futures and soybeans and wheat, yeah, maybe you can trade that stuff. If you're a professional commodities trader, sure, you're a trader. That's your business and you know how to do it. But if you ask me the question, Mike, do you intend to trade digital property? My answer is I'm going to find the highest quality digital property in the world. I did that. I spent 1,000 hours studying that, and I concluded that Bitcoin is the least risky, most secure, most durable, best engineered, highest quality, most suited digital network for storing property for 100 years. Right? I did that, and now that I've got it, are you going to sell it? And the answer is no, I'm going to buy it. Right? I bought some more. I mean, we bought $250 million a year ago. Today we have $6.5 billion worth of it. What do I want? I want it all is what I want, but I can't afford it all because other people are competing with me. And there are a lot of other people with money, and they're going to want to get their piece. So I'm not going to get all of it, but yes, I'll keep accumulating at whatever rate I can.